And we're almost there. We are now live streaming on YouTube. This is Judge Dulce Madrigal. I'm hearing cases out of Comal County today by Zoom on Friday, June 14th, 2024. At this time, I will call cause number C 2024-0378A. Present in my virtual courtroom are both parties and the state's representative. Let me start with the non-custodial parent, Kevin Thomas Green Sr. Sir, go ahead and announce yourself with your full legal name.
Kevin Thomas Green Sr.
Senior. Thank you. And then the custodial parent, I have her listed as Crystal Nicole McBride. Ms. McBride, go ahead and announce yourself, ma'am.
Crystal Nicole McBride.
Thank you. I need to swear you both in. If you'd raise your right hands for me. Do each of you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, starting with you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you. Take a while. I don't know if you're sitting down, Ms. McBride, or not. You are allowed to sit down if you want, or if you're fine there, that's fine too. It's up to you. Oh, you are sitting? I can't tell because I'm
Yes,
looking.
I'm sitting.
I'm gonna give you an angle. You look like you're standing, and because I see the roof behind you. Thank you, ma'am. Mr.
I can
Valderas.
move my phone.
As long as I can see your face, I don't mind what you're doing other than just stay in the frame for me. Yeah, there. And then just so you're aware, there are other people in the virtual courtroom. They're allowed here. They're either staff of the Attorney General's office or my court coordinator. They're allowed to be in here, but they won't be participating in the hearing, just those of us that are on the video. So Mr. Valderas, go ahead and announce yourself and give me an opening statement, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. Edward Balderas for the Office of Attorney General. The Attorney General's office filed this paternity suit in March of 2024. The parties today have two children together before the court. One is Skylar Patricia Green, who is 3 years old, and one is Ella Darlene Green, and she is 2 years old. I've conferred with both parties regarding the issues on this case, and I believe they have an agreement on quite a few issues, but they are in disagreement about possession and access in particular. And so what I'd like to do is state what I believe they agreed to, and then I will ask them individually if that is their understanding and agreement. And so that's the state's announcement, Your Honor.
Okay, then if you want to go ahead and go forward with the announcement of the partial agreement, then we'll followed by the contested hearing.
Yes, Your Honor. And I just like to ask the parties to listen to what I'm about to say so that they can confirm with me if that is their agreement as well or not. So I believe they agree that that Mr. Green is the father of Skylar and Ella Green, that the parent-child relationship will be established between him and them, that both parties shall be appointed as joint managing conservators of Skylar and Ella, and that Miss McBride shall be the primary managing conservator who shall have the power to determine where the children live, as well as all the other major powers that primary managing conservators have in Texas. I believe that the parties agree that current child support will be set at $490 per month. That shall start in July of 2024, beginning the first day of July. That there will be a step up amount for the youngest child when the oldest child graduates, because Mr. Green's 4 other children not before the court will no longer be children at that point, and so the child support would go up to $535 per month. I believe the parties also agree that the children have some medical issues that they both have, and as a result, they also are both on government-based health care coverage through benefits of their own. So the state is not asking for any cash medical support reimbursement, only that the children remain on a government health plan as they currently are. And with regard to retroactive child support, Your Honor, I believe the parties have agreed that a retroactive child support judgment will be taken against Mr. Green for the amount of $2,328, and that he shall pay that off at a rate of $50 per month, also beginning in July. And I believe that is the some of their agreement that they have, and that they disagree with regard to possession and access and geographic restriction. And so, but before we get into that, I'd like to call first Mr. Kevin Green. Mr. Green, did you hear all those things that I told the court that I believe y'all agreed to?
Yes, sir.
And is that your agreement in this case as well, or did I get anything wrong?
No, you got everything right.
Okay. Do you believe that those things that you do agree on are in the best interest of Skylar and Ella?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you have any questions about any of those terms that I said y'all agreed to?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I'll pass the witness.
Let me follow up with one last one. Are you entering into the agreement freely and voluntarily? In fact, nobody's coerced you, forced you, bribed you, any of those kinds of things?
No, ma'am. I'm here willingly.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. State will call Miss Crystal McBride. Miss McBride, same question for you. Did you hear those terms that I said that you had agreed to with Mr. Green?
Yes.
And is that your agreement as well?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about those terms that I said y'all agreed to?
No, I do not.
And do you think that they are in the best interest of the children, Skylar and Ella?
Yes.
And same question. Were you coerced or pressured or bribed or anything into entering those agreed terms?
No, I was not.
Okay. All right. Then, Your Honor, I think with those in terms agreed to, I'd like to move on to the contested issue.
And I'll thank you for that. I'll make this hearing a lot shorter. So, but don't get me wrong, visitation still takes a little while, but it would be a lot shorter without all the other issues at play. So Mr. Valderas gets to call his witnesses in the order he wants. So whoever gets called, the other person, I'm asking you to remain quiet. There's no reason for you to interrupt or give me your story in the middle of somebody else's. If you just patiently wait your turn, you'll get your turn. So, and be mindful of the other rules about not blurting out information you don't want out there and about, well, again, not interrupting each other. Mr. Valderas?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. State will call Miss Crystal McBride. Miss McBride. I think the issue that is the main issue before the court today is the visitation. For one thing, can you tell me, is it true that you and Mr. Green separated, stopped living together back in April of 2023? Is that right?
Yes.
And at that time, y'all were living on the East Coast in Philadelphia. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you came down here to Texas. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And since then, has Mr. Green seen Skylar or Ella?
Via video, not in person.
How many times would you say he's seen them by video?
Probably a total of 7.
7 times? Okay. And has he asked to see them in person?
No, I asked him to come and see them in person.
I said that y'all were living together in Philadelphia. Do you know when he got to Texas?
When I spoke to him, it was July, I think. He said June he had gotten to Texas.
Okay. So he followed you here. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't want a specific address, but can you tell me what area of the state of Texas you live in now?
New Braunfels.
And do you know what area of the state he lives in now?
He told me Colleen.
Okay. What brought you to Texas?
There were 3 things. I wanted better care for my children. I had 2 incidences where both of them were almost, well, Skylar was severely injured and Ella was almost injured during their stay at the hospital. Philadelphia's medical system is not as good as it is out here in Texas. Another reason was because if I wanted to leave, I wanted to be somewhere where I had some type of family, and also to get away from the situation that I was in with Mr. Green.
And I had stated to the court earlier that both Skylar and Ella have medical issues that they have to that have to be taken into account. Can you tell me what it is that Skylar and Ella, what kind of condition they have?
I'm going to start with Ella because hers is not as severe. Ella was born premature at 26 weeks. She has developmental delays. When she was a few days old in the hospital, they punctured her intestines, trying to do a lumbar puncture, and she was then transferred to another hospital. She had a hernia below her stomach, so they had to take care of that as well. Most of Ella's problems is just developmental delays. She gets OT and speech therapy in home. Skylar is very intricate. She was injured at a week old. There was a PICC line that was stuck in her leg at a week old by the doctor. She was transferred to another hospital. That hospital caused her to get her thoracic duct damaged. She had 3 infections and she almost died. The third hospital that they transferred her to, which was the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, they saved her life. The social worker came to me and said, "Hey, there's nothing we can do for her medically anymore. You might as well start making funeral arrangements." The doctor, wasn't okay with that, so they found a procedure that has only been done on dogs. It's called the thoracic duct to pulmonary vein shunt. They did that procedure on Skylar, which she is the first person that procedure had been done on to save her life. A week after that procedure was done, she had a hemorrhage. So they had to go into her head and fix whatever was going on with the hemorrhage. I don't know exactly what they did, but they fixed the hemorrhage. She also had a hip dysplasia. So her hip is pushing up towards her rib cage, which makes one leg shorter than the other leg, which is the reason why she just started walking in November. She also will have chronic hypertension for the rest of her life because of the surgery that was done. The doctors can't tell me like what the rate of success would be. They can't tell me how long she's going to live. They can't tell me, whether as a normal kid, if she plays sports, if that's going to affect anything. The cardiologist that she's seen out here said that she can't do anything strenuous or do any sports where anything's been thrown at her chest because it may affect the surgery and cause health issues. She has issues with her eyesight because of everything that went on in the hospital. She has microcephaly, so the back of her head is flat because they could not roll her to her side. She had tubes in both of her lungs on both sides to drain all the fluid that was in her body. And right now she gets PT, speech, OT. I just talked to the school district of Kamau. We're trying to figure out where to place her in school and what needs she's going to need while she's in school. And Ella will be starting school in August.
Okay, and because of this past medical history for both girls, if with regard to visits, with in-person visits, what would the person that has, responsibility for them, Mr. Green, what would they need to do to make sure that the girls are being taken care of?
Ooh, so Skylar, even though she can walk, she's limited in walking. She does not walk on concrete. She does not wear shoes because she has texture issues. She can only have certain foods. She has lymphatic issues as well due to all the things that the doctors did to her in the hospital. So she can't have milk. She can't have gluten. She doesn't eat meat. Her She's still in diapers. It's going to be hard to potty train her because she's nonverbal autistic. There are little things that she does that shows that she is hungry. So you would really have to pay attention to her in order to realize or notice that she's hungry. She eats every hour. Um, like if they were to go somewhere, they would have to carry her. She will not walk on the ground. She won't walk in shoes and she won't walk on concrete due to her having textural issues. Um, she's almost allergic to everything. I can't use baby wipes on either one of them anymore because they've been developing rashes from that. So I have a washcloth that I use specifically to, wipe them when I'm changing their diapers. Um, Skylar does not feed herself. She doesn't know how to use a fork or a spoon. We're working on that now. So she would have to be fed. Taking care of Skylar is pretty much like taking care of a baby. Um, Except for, you just have to it's a lot of things that has to be done with Skylar. You have to have more time around her in order to catch the little cues that she gives you in order to know what's going on. She has issues with flight or fight syndrome. So if she was to hurt herself, she probably wouldn't react in the normal way that a normal child would. Also, she can't drink out of a cup. She can use a straw. We just taught her how to use a straw. She can hold a sippy cup, but a regular children's small cup without a top on it, she cannot use as well. I think that's everything. It's a lot. So I think that's it.
Okay. Anything with regard to Ella?
Ella, she does not feed herself. She can use a fork or a spoon. She knows how to get the food on the fork or the spoon, but putting it in her mouth, we're not sure whether she's right-handed or left-handed just yet. So trying to help her maneuver the spoon to make sure the food doesn't fall off and get it in her mouth is my issue with her right now. She's able to walk wherever she needs to go. She walks outside. She's picky with her food as well. She doesn't eat meat either. I still buy meat occasionally just to test to see if their taste buds have changed, but they still don't eat meat. Um, I can't really pinpoint like every little thing that they do eat because it's like a trial and error thing right now. So I'm just buying a whole bunch of different types of food and seeing if they like it. Ella, she is in speech therapy. She will be getting OT through the school district soon. She's limited in her speech, but she does understand. So if I say, sit down, come on, baby, put this in the trash can, I usually get her to throw her diapers away. She does that. She pretty much understands commands. She's just delayed in her speech and some fine motor skills. I think Ella is catching up more to her age, from her having developmental delays than Skylar is. So Ella's a little bit easier to care for than Skylar.
Okay. With regard to your circumstances now, is it true that you don't have transportation of your own?
No, I absolutely do not. I have no car and I don't have a family member that can drive me anywhere. I have 3 people out here and two of them is too old. My brother is a truck driver, so he's not even in Texas right now. And the cousin that I have, he runs the business and he takes care of my uncle and his wife. So he's unable, he has no time to even do anything. I can't get nobody to even take me to the supermarket. I have to order everything online.
And do you know if Mr. Green has transportation of his own?
According to a text message I received from him a couple months ago, he asked me for $300 to get his car out of the shop. So from that, I'm assuming he does have access to a vehicle. And then his girlfriend also said that the $300 was to get her car out of the shop. So from me seeing those 2 messages tells me that he may have access to a vehicle. I don't know what the situation is now, so I can't say.
With regard to your future plans, do you have any plans to go back to the East Coast, or do you plan to stay here in Texas for the foreseeable future? What do you think you're going to do?
My plans are based on the needs of Skylar mainly. So the surgery that was done on Skylar, that's only been done on dogs. That doctor, if anything happens to Skylar dealing with that surgery, he's the only person that can touch her or fix the problem, which means that I would have to go back to Philadelphia, to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, in order for Skylar to get the proper care when it comes to that surgery.
Okay. Is there any other reason you might go back to the East Coast?
Yes, I'm currently in a lawsuit with the 2 hospitals that injured Skylar. And my lawyer informed me that if we do go to trial, I would have to go to Philadelphia for a few weeks, possibly longer, depending on how long the trial takes.
And let me ask you this. Do you believe that Mr. Green should be a part of Skylar and Ella's life going forward as they, grow older and so forth?
Absolutely. I'm not denying Mr. Green any rights to not see his children. Matter of fact, all of our arguments have been because he has not been, calling them consistently so that they could see their face. I live without a father, so I know how that is. And if I could possibly be cordial with him enough for my children to at least have their father in their life, then that's what I'm willing to do. I'm more concerned about my children's welfare and their relationship with their father as well as me. So I want to make sure that they're able to have a relationship with their father.
And so what would be your preference with regard to visits? What would you prefer to see that the court ordered that he visit with the children in what circumstances?
I originally asked for supervised visits here in New Braunfels, but I also, prior to us even coming to court and child support being an issue, I asked him to be consistent with video calls so that they could at least see him and hear his voice and get used to that at first. So I feel as though if he can show me consistency for at least a year with video calls, then we can discuss visitations in person.
So you want him to have this preliminary visitation by video, and then after a year to go to in-person visits?
Yes, supervised in-person visits, not weekends or overnights. I'm not comfortable with that yet.
And the in-person visits, who would you think should supervise them? Yourself or somebody else?
Not myself, because he's already explained that he doesn't want to be near me, which is kind of weird with the visits. But anybody that's available. He said he didn't want to be around my family, so I can't choose a family member. So he kind of put me at a dilemma with that.
Is there anyone that well, I guess, do you know if he's got any family here?
He has absolutely no family out here.
Okay. All right. And so do you have anybody that you can think of that could be the supervisor that you can tell the court?
I do have people. I have this whole job. I live on the property of my family's business. My cousin is in the office occasionally. There's the supervisor Ruben that's in charge. There's conference rooms where he could sit in and hang out with the girls. Like, it's more than enough space. And I have people that can be supervisors who just he said he didn't want to be near my family.
Okay. And so are the people that in theory could supervise the visits, are they all your family members?
Yes. My cousin Kevin, the supervisor Ruben that I mentioned that works at the job, he's not a family member, but I have my cousin Kevin and my uncle's wife. She could possibly supervise, and also my cousin Kevin's sister. She works at the job as well. She could possibly be a supervisor for the visits.
So would you be okay with then that Mr. Green have visits over at that location where other people are around, and he can just visit with the children at that point? For how long do you think the visit should take place?
As long as he chooses. If he wants to visit with them for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, is perfectly fine. And my original request was supervised visits. He said he didn't want to do supervised visits.
You said no overnights or weekends, right? What's your concern about him having overnight visits?
Overnights and weekends, the concern is mainly Skylar and him being able to care for her properly. Like, some of the things that you have to know about Skylar requires you to be around her for a long period of time. And I feel as though if he does supervised visits first, I can, show him like, hey, when she does this, this means that she's hungry. Or when she does this, this means that she's tired. With the supervised visits, it can gear him up to be able to have them on the weekend once he gets to understand their little quirks and things that can indicate that they're hungry, because Skylar is nonverbal. So you have to watch her, you have to look at her, you have to listen to sounds that she makes and things that she does to understand what's going on with her. Ella, she's starting to speak, but she's not saying 20 words yet. So, with her, it will be a little bit easier. She can say the word eat when she's ready to eat. But with Skylar, Skylar does not tell you that she's ready to eat or that she's hungry. She makes a certain noise or she'll do a certain action that shows that she's hungry. Also, with the overnights and the weekends, I have concern about the girlfriend. She doesn't like me. We've had words, a few times. And, I would rather, if I can't have a cordial conversation with her and make sure that my kids will be safe in her care, then I don't want them there on the weekends or overnights.
Okay. How long do you think, going with this, idea of electronic visits? I know you said for a year, but let's say if that was the first step and then supervised visits were the second step, how long would you want that second step of supervised visits to take place before you think you'd feel good about going to overnight, like an overnight visit, if not like for a full weekend, just one night?
A year as well.
As a year as well? Okay. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to say with regard to what you preferred for a visitation?
No.
Okay. Well, you'll have a more chance to testify later, but for now, Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
Let me ask before we move on, do all these family members on the family business, are they there for jobs, or they just pass through there and can supervise and they're not on the clock? Or what do you mean they can supervise by coming to the business?
So my uncle owns a porta potty business. All of the workers, the male workers, they go out in trucks and they service the porta potties and come back in. My family is in the office, my cousin and his sister, and there's two other people that aren't family members that are in the office. They're on the clock, yes. However, my cousin runs the business. So if he was there, he would be able to supervise. If the sister was there, she would be able to supervise.
But
It's not a busy office. It's not a busy office. There's only 4 people in the office.
So even if your cousin runs the business, his father owns it, so there wouldn't be any trouble with you're doing personal things on work time issues?
His grandfather, my uncle is his grandfather. Yeah. So I can't explain. So the porta potty business is not like they have much to do in the office. All
Not
the
at the
business
office.
is done out on the road. Yeah, so all of the business is done out on the road by the male drivers that go out to service the porta potty. So most of the time when I go to the office to bring them their mail, he's literally on the phone with his wife or he's just checking emails. So he has the time. I've actually spoken to him about it. He would be able to do it at the job, and also his sister would be able to supervise at the job.
Okay, so that's one issue, the work issue, but you seem to think there wouldn't be a problem there since the nature of it. But the other part is, even if they were sidetracked just a little bit, I mean, are you saying they know all about Skylar and all her different issues, and then
Yes.
they took a minute off to do something else, they could still supervise and miss something? I mean, how concerned are you about that they know exactly what to do with the child?
There's so my cousin Kevin comes and sees the girls almost every single day since I've been living in this house. The business is literally 5 steps away from where I live at. I live on the property of the business in a 4-bedroom, 2-bath trailer home. He comes over literally every day, if not every other day, and spends at least 2 to 3 hours with the girls. So he's aware of the noises that Skylar makes when she's hungry. He's aware of all of her medical issues. He's met all of the therapists that have came in the house, because sometimes they'll pass by the house and park inside the parking lot of the business. So he's spoken to everyone. He the three family members that I have are very aware of Skylar's health issues. They've been aware of it since I moved out here, and they come to see her quite often.
So have you trusted each and every one of them, who are the three family members, to be alone with the children together, with the two children together? And
Yes.
one of them would care?
Yes, my uncle's new wife, which is my cousin Kevin's grandmother, she had to watch the girls for me so I could do the deposition with Skylar's lawyers about their lawsuit. She watched them from 9 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. The girls were fine. I packed a big bag full of food for her, diapers, wipes, and everything that she needed. And she took care of the kids with no problem and brought them back. They were happy. They weren't upset.
Tell me what kind of training did she get to be able to stay with them alone? Did it take months, days, hours to train her? Why? How was she involved?
All last year. All last year. It took literally a whole year for her to get the hang of the needs that Skylar has. She watched them. It was this year. I had the deposition in March. That's when she watched them. So all last year, from April until this year in March, I basically explained to her and showed her all the things that was going on with Skylar.
So it wasn't just short. There's not a person that you've left the child that hasn't had that length of contact with the children, so that they really do know everything, and it takes a year for training? That's what you're saying?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. My child is autistic. She's nonverbal, so you have to watch her in order to understand her needs. And so I was going to my aunt's house. She would pick me up. We would go over to the house every weekend. She would help me with the girls. She would, pay attention to Skylar's little cues, learn when Skylar was hungry and things of that nature. We did that all of last year.
So you told me one person was your cousin Kevin, another person was your uncle's new wife. I didn't get her first name.
Her name is Cynthia. That is my cousin Kevin's grandmother. That's how they're related.
I'm never gonna get this right because I don't have the family tree in my head. Your cousin's wife, is that what you said?
My
Mhm.
uncle remarried a new wife. My uncle is related to me through marriage. He was married to my aunt, my father's sister. She passed away years ago. He's been married to the new wife for 18 years. The new wife had a child. That child had a son, and that son is Kevin. That's how we're related.
Don't ask me to repeat that. Okay. So they're all related, but it's your uncle's new wife, or not so new wife. If it's 18 years, and Kevin is his son?
Hers grandson. Her grandson.
Her grandson. Okay. And the third person that you think is qualified enough?
I don't think she's qualified enough. It's the sister. She can be a supervisor because she doesn't do anything in the office. She
Oh,
basically
You're talking about your uncle's wife still? Or you're talking about?
I'm
No,
talking.
okay. Who's the third
Yeah,
person?
the third person.
Yeah, who is it? Like the
The
relationship?
third person. It's my cousin Kevin's sister.
So she's your cousin too? Or step cousin or half cousin, or I'm not even.
They're related to me by marriage. They're not blood relatives. They're related to me through marriage.
Well, I'm thinking if Kevin's your cousin, his sister is your cousin, but not necessarily. It's another.
Yeah, no, she's my cousin, but they're both related to me through marriage. My uncle married their grandmother.
And how old are Kevin and his sister?
Kevin is 45. I don't know how old his sister is. I never asked her.
But she's way over 20 or 18.
Yeah, no, she's probably in her 40s as well, or older.
Okay. And the wife, your uncle's wife, is older than that?
Yeah, my uncle is 80 years old. His wife is 75.
But the age is not an impairment at this point. She's pretty spry or good or whatever you want to call it. So she'd not have trouble with running after toddlers.
I mean,
I mean, I don't know.
She
I'm
can't run
asking.
after the toddlers now because she just injured her leg. But prior to her injury, yes, she was able to, go after the girls.
Okay, but she wouldn't put them in, throw them outdoors anyway, or try to chase them if they ran across the lawns, but she'd be smart enough to keep them indoors or whatever would work.
Skylar can't run. Skylar can't run. And Skylar
Well,
she has issues with texture. She doesn't like
she
walking
was.
on the concrete and she doesn't like grass. So taking her outside wouldn't be a good thing for her. Skylar would get upset and I would have to bring her back inside. We've been practicing through therapy to get her acclimated to walking outside and with shoes on.
Thank you for reminding me of that, but Ella, they keep them together when they have them to watch.
Yes.
That pretty much is
Yes.
indoors somewhere where they can't get into too much trouble by being outdoors, okay?
Yes.
Cars and dogs or whatever. Okay,
Yeah, no, their house, they live in a gated community. They have a really big backyard. So if Ella wanted to run out there, she could, but normally we're in the house
okay,
due to Skylar having issues with being outside.
okay. Anybody else you can think of? And I assume there's nobody on Mr. Green's side of the equation that could be offered since they're not around the kids and know nothing about them, is what I'm understanding.
I'm not sure.
Okay, but if anybody on his side of the family, they don't have contact, correct, with the children, or don't know anything about them right now in their present conditions.
No, they don't have contact at all. I talked to his brother probably a couple months ago. He said the only time he speaks to Kevin is when he needs something. So, and his brother does not call me and ask me how the kids are doing. And his brother is all the way on the East Coast in New Jersey.
Okay. Anything else you think you need to tell me before we move on? Talk to Mr. Green and I'll come back to you. Oh, I do have one more question. Why do you think it can't be simultaneous videos with some small in person so that he gets to know them hands-on quicker instead of waiting a whole year? The visual, I mean, yeah,
I originally asked for supervised visits. Mr. Green said he did not want to do supervised visits. That wasn't an issue for me. It was that he needed to be here to do it. And he said he didn't want to be near my family. My family doesn't know anything about him or anything that we went through. So I don't know why that would be an issue. But I asked for supervised visits.
So the reason
In the
you're
first
putting him
place.
off is because he doesn't want them, not because you wouldn't necessarily allow them.
Yes.
They're supervised with somebody who knows the kids, who can handle emergencies and teach him the ropes. That's your concern. You're shaking your head. Yes, I need it for my recorders.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Let's move on. Mr. Valderas, you want to call Mr. Green? Let me hear his side.
Yes, Your Honor. State will call Mr. Kevin Green. Mr. Green.
Mr. Green, can you please remove your hat? You are in court.
Thank you, my trustee coordinator. Sorry, Mr. Green, I miss those things. It is a quorum. Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Valderas.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Green, can you tell us what would you prefer when it comes to visitation with your daughters?
You know what? At this point, I just care about my daughters. Whatever Miss McBride wants, that's what she's gonna get. I'm with her 100% because it defeats the purpose while we're sitting here going back and forth. I'm still not being able to see my kids. And it's not it's because me and her, we just don't get along at all. We can't get along. She's threatened my girlfriend. So at this point, for the sake of my children, that's all I care about. I don't care about the court. I don't care about the payments. I just want to be around my kids. So if that's what she wants, let her have it. I'll do the Zooms for the year and I will track it. Like the calendar behind me. I will put it on the calendar for a whole year just to make sure we get past this situation right here. Because I'm tired. I got other kids I got to worry about as well. I have no more energy for it. So at this point, whatever Miss McBride wants, that's what she gets.
Let me jump in, Mr. Valderas. Mr. Green, you've heard of all the children's issues, medical issues. I assume you knew about most of that before you got here today, or is some of it new to you?
No, I know it.
Okay. But because you all can't even talk or be in the same room, you haven't been able to get to
It's
them?
it's it's
Learn?
very toxic, and I want to put this out there. She's an excellent mother. I want to put this out there. I don't want this to be. I don't want this to have any effect on that. I want her and I to get along. But as of right now, in order for that to happen, maybe I need to be the bigger person and step back and just give her what she's asking for, so I can get to see my kids and we can get over this hump. If that's what has to happen, that's what I'm willing to do here today.
I appreciate that because I've heard a lot of stories over a lot of years and most of them are not this complicated, but medical issues just throws a whole overlay on it. And as a mother, I'm sure you can understand all the things that happen to your children in the care of professionals, and look how that turned out. So I'm sure she's fairly nervous about just, not making sure that the kids are well cared for. And
Yes.
what I would think that is if you can manage to get a supervised visit here and there on her watch in the year, and you get to learn some of this stuff up close and personal, that maybe you can skip half the year and get to more in persons other than just video. And
That works. That works.
because I'll tell both of you this, the court order that visitation is the only section that this applies to, is that it says that if y'all can agree to something different, that's allowed. There's no bar to y'all as parents thinking in your better judgment that something different from the court order should happen. Y'all can do that by agreement. You don't have to run to court. You don't have to get a court order. Y'all just agree. If I were you, either one of you, I'd put it in writing so you know exactly what you agreed to, and you both have a piece of paper with signatures on it. So if anything happens, you can at least prove that, not he said, she said, I thought it was this, no, I thought it was that, and it gets more toxic. But you can do anything you want by agreement if you think it's in the best interest of the children. But then it says failing mutual agreement, this is what you shall have, so that you don't get stuck with nothing or by reasonable agreement, and then y'all can't be reasonable and you can't get anything. So we're required to put specific orders in the order so that you know minimum what you get. But to me, maximum, if you jump those hurdles quicker and you do agree to some supervision in the meantime to just learn and make sure it's not you and on your watch that something horrible happened and you had no idea and you didn't see it coming, and God forbid, you don't want to be there. So maybe an abundance of caution as looking at the bigger picture, not necessarily be a bigger person, but that too, but looking at the bigger picture, that if you accommodate Miss McBride here and there with some supervision and she sees that you can handle it, then maybe you can get there quicker. But the court's not going to be there to whatever I decided today without your agreement, I decide to start something and then make you come back in 6 months and see how it went, maybe do another step, all that stuff. I can't babysit this for the next 17 years. It's the oldest, 15
That's
years.
my point. I don't want a court to have to do that. I want to
Yes.
be able to amicably get this done. And at this point, like, I'm tired. I'm moving on the other side of 40 in a few years, and I don't want to have to do this. I want to make sure that my kids are involved with me and their sisters that are not
Right.
with her at the same time. So at this point, what Miss McBride wants, I'm willing to do it, because
So all your relatives stayed back in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania somewhere, or
my relatives are in New Jersey, North New Jersey. Hmm.
So, I'm not even going to go there about traveling with kids with special needs. I mean, that y'all are going to have to figure out. I cannot put details down for the rest of their minority until they're 18. However, whatever we do put in the order, that is a court order, and then you're entitled to minimum that and maximum whatever y'all can agree to. And then if you all cannot agree to anything else and it no longer works for you, what's in the order, it would probably be you that would be on your shoulders to hire a lawyer or figure out how to do it yourself to go modify the visitation, take it back to court, show a judge you're at the position of doing something else that y'all can't agree to, and let a court decide at that point. But it would be a new lawsuit with a modification. And that's not something that the AG takes for free to file. And that's not something this court hears. We do the initial visitation in this order that's establishing paternity. And then any child support modifications are within our purview but not visitation modifications per se. So you'd have to go another route with a lawyer, probably. That'd be the easiest to get back into a courtroom to change the court order for visitation. Y'all cannot work it out on your own, and what's in the order is no longer workable. So I need you to know all that too for the future, not just right now and then think, oh, it'll be easy going back to the state, asking for their help, and I'll be back in the court. No, it wouldn't be through this court and this process and through the AG office. So visitation, you might be back here on child support. But if that things change for that, we do handle this child support modifications.
Mhm.
Okay, well, did I hear any testimony on the issue of geographic restriction or how that should play out? Or why don't we have Mr. Valderas ask some specific questions of Mr. Green on that?
Mr. Green, with regard to Miss McBride's power to determine where the children live, if she were to move somewhere, do you think she should retain that power if she were to leave this area of the state or have to go back to the East Coast? What do you think about that scenario?
She should retain it.
Okay, so so would it be fair to say that she should have no geographic restriction as far as custody goes?
No, I would never do that to her.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
I mean, you followed her here, I guess, or is that the main reason you came down here, to be closer to the kids, or what?
That was the main reason at first. Yes, that was the main reason. It would have
Okay.
been easier for me to do that, but I ran into some financial troubles and lost my car, the car that I had. So right now I'm working back towards to get that so I can go have visitations when it's applicable for Miss McBride.
Okay, but I'm talking about being here from New Jersey or Philadelphia, if that's where y'all met or wherever. That if she picks up and moves back because of the lawsuit or even tells you it's short term and she's coming back, that's one thing. But if she's picking up and moving the kids there indefinitely, that she would have the right to do that with no geographic restriction, and then you decide whether you move back or not. Or follow her somewhere else if that's where she is.
No, I'm not following anybody anymore.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that with no geographic restriction, she can make that choice and go
Yes,
back
she can.
and stay there. And then you're long distance again, and that could be a problem, but people manage long distance relationships, and with the social media and FaceTime and all that good stuff, at least you can still see them on video, and whether it's holidays or summer times would be up to you all to figure that out if that ends up happening. You get that too?
Yes, we
With
got to
the
go
new
through
geographic.
this. We got to go through this right now before we get to that. So that's my point. I just want to get through this
Yes.
and then get to that.
Well, I can't just put that, whatever she wants. I'm not gonna do that to you. So, Mr. Valderas, since you managed to talk to Ms. McBride longer than I have, can you delineate again? Like in terms of a court order, her request, and see if they all pass muster with Mr. McBride, with Mr. Green?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe that Ms. McBride's request was that they do electronic visits, FaceTime visits for a year before going to visits in person supervised at Ms. McBride's location, where the business is, for a designated supervisor at the choice of Ms. McBride, a competent adult that she designates. She had asked for that to be a year as well. And that's as far as we got with regard to visitation.
Okay, well, can you flesh
plan.
out the terms of the electronic visits so they'll be specific on days and hours and whatever, at least for that part, and how many of them? We say 1 year, but if we're gonna limit it to once a week, twice a week, once a month, I mean, we need
Yes,
to
Your
know.
Honor. Yes, I'd be happy to ask Ms. McBride more
Sure.
questions about that. Ms. McBride, with regard to the electronic visits, how often do you think they should take place?
So in December last year, 30th, we had a conversation about the phone calls and when he could call them. He told me Monday, Thursday, and Friday, because I believe he said he had Wednesday off at that time.
I do not
I
work that
asked
job anymore.
me,
Okay.
yeah, I realized that. That's why I said at that time, because you did say you have a new job. I asked him what days was he available to call the girls. Said Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. He was not consistent with those phone calls, which is the reason why we can't seem to get along. I get upset when my girls are being neglected. If you tell me a certain thing, then that's what we need to stick to because Skylar needs repetition.
Okay.
Things
What
have to be.
what if instead of telling me the rest of that, what if you just pick something that's what you think is reasonable, and then if there's any extras, y'all can do it on your own, as long as and we'll
I
make some
allowed him
parameters.
to make that choice.
I'm
I
sorry.
allowed him to make that choice. I allowed him to make that
Well,
choice
I don't
because
want
he
to
does
put.
have a job.
What I don't want to do is put 3 times a week and then multiply 3 times 52 and then say you can't do this and you have until you do this massive number of home visits. I mean, I recognize the utility to them, but I don't want to say so many days that then he can't do it for whatever reasons. And what's the minimum you think he should have so it'd be consistent? And, you know, be in mind that sometimes in person is every other weekend or stuff like that, but maybe once a week. So maybe at least it's 52 times. And then if there's extras in there, well, great. Or no less than 52 times. And if he does them quicker, then maybe he can advance to the in-person supervision quicker. See what I'm saying? So what would be your minimum that he should have?
I mean, if he
And I'm
does
not
it
gonna say
quicker, if it's,
356 days. Yes, ma'am.
I was confused at what you said when you said when he does it quicker. I'm
Well,
confused
you
about
know,
that.
I can say a year, but then a year can pass by and then what happened? How many visits did he actually do? And so if you want to set it up with 3 a week, then I'm gonna say 3 times 52 weeks is how many? 156 times. And, you know, is that really fair? Is it be better maybe once a week? So at least it's 52 times. And with 52 times, if he does them in a year, great. If he does them longer than a year, okay. If he does them quicker, maybe that's more bonding. Maybe you should get to the next step quicker. But
I mean, 3 times a week is actually fair given the fact that most fathers are with their children every day of the week. So I think three
well,
times a week
that's
is
not quite
actually
true
kind of
when
fair
there's
if he needs to
distances
learn.
and when there's medical issues. So I don't think that's quite right that people are, you know, every day. That's just, and it's not possible here because Colleen and New Braunfels is a little bit distant and there's transportation issues.
No, I'm talking about video. I'm talking about video visits. I'm not talking about physical visits. Video, it shouldn't be a problem with him calling 3 times a week. It's a video. It's not like he has to come here 3 times a week. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you, Ms. McBride. Mr. Balderas, will you examine Mr. Green about that issue and why they didn't happen 3 times a week and what he thinks about how many times he should be called?
Yes, Your Honor. We'll recall Mr. Kevin Green. Mr. Green, how many visits do you believe you would be able to have a week by telephone call?
I can do the weekends every weekend. Every
You could,
weekend.
you could call them every weekend?
Every weekend.
What day and what time?
Saturdays, Sundays, I'm open availability whenever her phone is open for calling. Every weekend.
So if you were to call on a Saturday, what time would you prefer to call in at?
As early as 8 in the morning.
Okay. And you know, the children are very young, so I don't know how long their attention span can be for talking on a phone. But if it was
that was kind of the issue with me on the phone with her. I usually did it when I was on lunchtime at work. See, but their attention span, they go off of the phone and then she wants to get on the phone and speak. I don't. That's where the delay comes from. So
Okay. Mr. Green, let me stop
want
you.
to.
One of the electronic issues is like, does it have to be a phone? I think the better thing would be some kind of video thing, like
Video. That's what I'm trying to say. I was at work and on my lunchtime, I would usually call them. I usually was working 16 hours a day. So I usually would call them on lunch. But while I'm speaking to them, they disappear from the visual and it's just Miss McBride. And then it starts to get it.
Tell me what platform you used. What was it that you were doing video conference?
It was Duo, Google Duo, I think it's called. It changed to something else, but it was Duo at the time.
And you would both have access
Google
to
Meet.
them.
Or
What is
Google
it, Ms.
Meet,
McBride, that would
whatever.
work for you? Ms. McBride, what is it that would work that's video, not just phone calls, but do you know?
Video was fine. The
Which
only problem
one?
is if the kid, I'm sorry, I can't. Video was fine. The only problem is if the kids walk away and there's things that I'm telling him about the kids. I updated him on what was going on with Skylar and what was going on with Ellen. So I don't
Okay,
understand what the issue.
we're gonna set some ground rules, and maybe one of them will be the video is just for him seeing the kids, and if they walk away, then you wait a minute or two.
I can
If
hang
they
up.
come back, well, no, wait, if they walk to get something and they might return back, it might take them a little, whatever. But what I usually do, yeah, reasonable times for reasonable durations, but maybe between the hours of a certain time, a half hour, like if it's 8 a.m., 8 to 8:30, and for no less than 15 minutes. So you just leave it on and they may come and go, or you try to encourage them, or you sit them there, whatever. I don't know. As they get older, it gets better, I think.
That's a problem. Yeah,
Well,
that's a
I
problem.
get that, but this is what you're asking for. So I'm trying to put some parameters on it, not make more problems for you. But what I was going to say is you don't talk to him. It's not a time for you to tell him anything. It's a time for him to see the kids. And your obligation is to try to get him to see the kids. And if you want to talk to him, really, you shouldn't talk if you all can't communicate. There's an app called App Close, and it's meant for parents to share information. And maybe you can send him doctor's reports. Maybe you can tell him things on that app where he can take it by opening, reading it, and not y'all having to talk. Because the other thing you're doing is you're telling him things verbally. He may not be listening, or maybe going over his head, or it's too much information. Why don't you put it in a app close in a format where he can have it, he can review it, he can go back to it if he needs to, and don't talk anymore. If I'm hearing y'all are both toxic, talking to each other, then you don't talk, and the visits are not meant for that. So can you agree to that, Ms. McBride, or why wouldn't you?
What I said was the problem was the 8:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. My children don't even wake up until 10. They're
Okay, I don't
2 and
want to
they're
hear
3
the
years
It
old.
why.
doesn't
So
have
I
that's
to
want
what
to
I
be
was
hear
that
the
time.
what. What
You pick
time
the
would work
time.
for you? What time would work for you? He just said as
12
early
noon.
huh? What?
12 noon.
That's
You're
fine.
not gonna be sitting at lunch having a meal right at 12
That's
noon.
fine.
That's fine? Okay.
12 noon is fine.
From 12
Skylar
noon.
eats every hour.
Yes, I know that. That's why I'm asking. It shouldn't be 12:30, or is it on the clock? What is it? Is it 12 noon gonna be okay or not? You can't use it as an excuse
12
now if it's in
noon.
writing. 12 noon?
No, I didn't. Ma'am, that wasn't an excuse. I was just saying that you said something about them eating. Skylar eats every hour, so it doesn't matter what hour he
No,
calls.
but do
She's
you
still
start at
talking to me. So
8, at
12 noon
7,
is
8,
fine.
9, 10 on the hour, or is it half hour, or is it just whenever and you really need to stop and make sure at 12 noon she will not be eating? I mean, on Saturdays and Sundays. That's what I'm asking. What do we?
12 noon, I could feed her at 11:30, and she won't
Okay,
be eating at 12 o'clock. I could feed her ahead of time, but it's
that would,
literally every hour.
that's a solution. Thank you, ma'am. So if I say between the hours of 12 and 12:30, so you're not stuck by the phone for 2 or 3 hours to see when it happens, within that time frame with no less than 15 minutes, at least right now for the first year, would that work for you, Ms. McBride
Yes.
and Mr. Green?
Yes, ma'am.
So yes, you have the thing open, you have them there, and you try as hard as heck to keep them there or lure them back or whatever, but you leave it open for 15 minutes as it's not for you to talk to him. Yes. Is that a yes, ma'am? Ms. McBride,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Green, you can agree to that too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're getting somewhere. Now, what was the platform?
Google Meet, I think she said it was.
Google Meet, MEET?
Yes.
Okay, and if it has to change, you all figure out what works best for you, and you have the right to change it if this doesn't exist anymore, especially, but by electronic communication, beginning with Google Meet and whatever else it says generically that they can agree to. But for that time and that period, it would be every Saturday and every Sunday then? Is that what I heard, Mr. Green?
Yes, ma'am.
And ma'am, you would agree to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sometimes there might be exceptions. Kids might be sick. You might be on the road somewhere, going someplace. But if Ms. McBride can't do it because she's engaged otherwise and she has something legitimate, she has the obligation to make it up. So whether it's earlier in the morning or late at night, wherever you get somewhere and get it done, you have the right to, you have the obligation to make it up, Ms. McBride. Mr. Green, if you cancel because of something happened to you, if you want to make it up and y'all can agree to it, fine, but you can't make her if you're the one that canceled on it. Got it?
Copy that.
And then, let me write this down so when the order comes through, I remember everything I said. So no makeup visit if father cancels, if mother cancels, required makeup visit.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, let me move on to the next thing. So it's every Saturday and every Sunday. So we're talking about 52 times weekends a year at twice. That weekend, that'd be at least 104 times. Does that sound more palatable, Ms. McBride, that if he does at least 104 times of these visits, and if they're every Saturday and Sunday, well, then it will take a year. If he misses some, or if you let him call other times, yes, I would think those are, and not just makeup visits, but any other times would go to the 104 time limit or level, that he could go to the next step after 104 times. So no less than that. And again, I don't do it by the year because anything could happen and he could do a lot less and then the year goes by and then it looks like he's supposed to move on, and that's not the intent of this court, and I'm sure not Ms. McBride's intent. But again, Mr. Green, hear it again. If you're doing it consistently and you do a few more, maybe you get to the point and maybe she's sending you information and you're reading it and you're responding by that app and y'all are communicating that way. And just, I'll tell you flat out that that app does not allow you to delete things once you send them, so that if you're ugly and whatever else, and you end up in a visitation court again, modifying it, and she can show how toxic you are, that's one thing. If he can show how toxic you are, Ms. McBride, y'all are both in trouble with the judge, trying to hear the case, because it's meant for y'all to be civil and to allow you to be civil instead of on the phone angry at each other and saying whatever comes off the top of your head. But yes, there's ways to get reports, and there's, I think, the inability to erase things once you've sent them. So be mindful of that. Okay, we do at least that, the telephone visit, not the video conferencing for 1 year, roughly, well, not roughly, exactly 104 times before the next level. Then that's where the supervision comes in. And Mr. Valderas said in-person supervised at mother's location with mother to designate a competent adult, and 1 year of that. So if I do that, it's going to require actually going there. And I guess, Mr. Green, you'd have to get in a car and drive there and sit there for how long? What are you asking for? Let me start there. Because she said whatever 5 hours you wanted to be there would be fine. So tell me what days you could go and what hours you could stay. And then I'll figure out a year's worth or so after talking to Ms. McBride.
And no less than 3 hours.
Okay. What hours do you think you can make it there? Well, actually, first the days, which days of the week, if you're working Monday to Friday, and if your job change, you're gonna have to figure it out.
Well, by that time, hopefully my hours change at work, hopefully. So I would just say you keep it at Saturday and Sunday.
So you'd be willing to go and either stay the night or go home and come back?
Definitely not staying the night, but I will.
Well, not with
will
them,
go.
but you want, this Killy's not that far, I presume, but you'd have the transportation to go, and I don't know how many miles that is, 100 or more.
I'm guessing.
Well,
Once I
from
put
Austin
it,
to Waco is 100, and I'm trying to figure out where Killeen is versus Waco, and I know where New Braunfels is, 45 minutes south of Austin.
it's about an hour or 2 hours, I think.
Okay, and do you know the distance between how long it would take him, or how many miles it is, Ms. McBride, where he is and where you are?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, it's gonna be probably at least an hour or two, an hour and a half or so. So on Saturday and Sunday, I don't know who to ask first. What time would your supervisors be available at the business or wherever else they're gonna be? Ms. McBride?
The business is closed on Saturdays and Sundays.
Okay, would they be available at their homes or somewhere?
I don't know.
Well, I need your help because I gotta put it in writing and I can't just let y'all go away and whatever.
I can't tell you what my family does on the weekends when they're at home. They go on vacations. My cousin was
Okay.
just in Mexico. That's why I said at the business, because I
Then
know they'll
tell
be there
me-
Monday.
I
Well,
know.
I do have to work. I have other kids, so I can't give you a
know
weekday
that.
knowing that I have to work. You understand what
No,
I'm saying?
I understand that.
Okay,
Because if
okay,
I stop
okay.
working, then you
Mr.
won't
Green,
get child
Mr.
support.
Green, you need to talk to me and then that may
I never asked you.
be as angry. And then I think I understand your argument. That's what I'm gonna get ready to tell her. But okay, the business hours, what are the business hours on Monday through Friday, ma'am? If that's what you're telling me, it's only available.
It's regular business hours Monday through Friday. They come in at 3:30 in the morning, and the business usually closes around 5. Sometimes somebody stays later, but everybody in the office is usually out of the office by 5 o'clock. I do understand that. The only thing that I was saying is that I would have to talk to my cousin to see if he or them would be available during the weekends. That's all I was trying to say. I understand he has
Well,
to work.
that's exactly right, because, well, there's no way I'm gonna wake up kids in the middle of the night, even if the business, that's not a normal hour anyway, but even if they open at 7 or 8, Mr. Green is working. If his job is Monday to Friday as well, you will check with
I get
whoever
it.
else. Okay. But the obligation will be yours because you're the one asking for the supervision and because of the needs of
No,
the
I
children.
understand that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
if
I
you say,
understand that, but right now I can't tell you if anybody will be available because I haven't spoken to them, so I can't give you a definite answer. That's
well,
what
I
I was
know,
saying.
but even I'm not gonna reset this, so y'all go away and talk to people. I guess I could do that,
No.
but I need to figure it out and it needs to be specific. So if he can only come on Saturdays and Sundays, then it says.
I'll make sure somebody is there to supervise. I'll make sure
Exactly.
someone is there.
That's what the order will say, that you have the right to designate a competent adult, but it would be those hours and times. You get that?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
In the event that someone is unable to supervise one of his visits during the weekend, what do we do then?
Then you canceled it and you have to
Mm.
pick it up. But then you can't be
Okay.
canceling and it's gonna take 2 or 3 years for him to get through this level. I mean, that's the other part of it.
Ooh. I can't.
You cancel it,
tell
it goes
you what
out the
my
window. It
family has.
doesn't count towards the number of visits he needs to do if you're the one canceling because you can't get the supervisor. And I assume you won't cancel
mean,
each and every time. Okay, so
I'm not trying to cancel anything.
I know, but you may have trouble because this is such a specific issue for these specific children and people who are involved in their lives that know their medical issues. It could be a problem. I can foresee a day and time, including holidays or whatever else that people are gone or whatever. But then I'm trying to tell you that this is what you want, then this is what you ask for. And if you get it, then it's your job to make sure it happens. And if you can't, then he doesn't get to sit there and you say, no, 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 and then wait a year and then nothing happens. It is your obligation, or the year passes and because if you're the one canceling it, I'm saying that that's not going to be on his side
My
of
phone
the
is dying.
equation.
My phone is dying. My phone is about to die.
Well,
It's
get
hanging
your
up.
chargers, get it near a plug, and please, hopefully we don't
It's
lose
already on the
you.
charger. It's already on the charger.
So it shouldn't die if you're plugged in. Can we have more electronic issues today? Are you plugged up, Mr. Green? You're not gonna have a problem in a few minutes yourself?
No, I stay prepared. I'm prepared.
Okay, the person, LG Stylo 6, is that Miss McBride?
Yeah, that's me. I have my phone on the charger. I just have a phone that's it's not working. I need a new phone.
So
I'm
did you switch
sorry.
devices? Did you
I
switch?
can't switch devices. All I have is my cell phone.
Okay, so how'd you
I
get
don't
back?
have. I don't have. My phone is at 2% right now. I had to jimmy the charger to get it to charge the phone a little
Oh, I
bit.
get it.
My phone is not retaining its charge. Yeah, I all of my money goes to the kids in the building, so I can't. I haven't been able to buy a new phone, which I've been needing for a while. So my phone is not holding the charge when I charge it, and I had it on charger as we were talking, but it still was dying. It's doing it right now. I apologize for that.
Well, if you only have 2% left or whatever, 2 minutes left, that's not enough time. So I don't know what I'm gonna do because you're obviously necessary here. Did you jigger it to where you see it's charging? Not yet? I
Yeah,
had,
I got it. I'm holding it in a way it was like charged, but the whole time we were talking, it still died
okay.
on me. So that's what was.
Okay,
I
I get the
I
issue because I
apologize.
had it myself, but why don't we do this? Let me let you get off video, and sometimes there's more better audio because you're sounding a little sketchy. It's not sounding as clear as it used to. So stop your video. We've identified you, you're back,
Okay,
and let's keep going.
I apologize.
I get it, ma'am, no problem. I happen to have these issues all the time with people's devices. Okay,
And it's still
oh. Were you trying to say something, Ms. McBride, or did you finish your thought? It cut off.
yeah, no, it's acting up. I'm trying to get it to all right, I think I got it. It's going in and out. I have it positioned in a certain way, but it's still going in and out.
Okay, then let me talk to Mr. Green then. If it's no less than 3 hours on Saturday and Sunday, she said, I don't think probably 8, it's too early, isn't it? Or can we leave it at the
Yeah,
We could leave it at that noon at 12. She
noon
said 12.
hour? Saturday from 12 to 3,
That'll work.
Sunday from 12 to 3.
That'll work.
And you can come every weekend, or should that be every other weekend now, every first, third, and fifth?
That'll be every weekend.
Okay, you'll have transportation in a year, I assume more reliable, you'll have figured it out.
Yes, ma'am.
And hopefully she'll have a year to figure out the supervisors as well. What happens if something goes wrong and you can't come or she can't bring him? Because that's pretty darn solid, and with no breaks and no vacations, no time off, no every single weekend. That might be a bit much. People can't do a whole lot other than
At
stay
this point, that's what she's asking. That's what she's asking for. That's what I'm gonna give her. That's it. That's all it is. I'm not gonna go back
Okay.
with that. It is what it is.
Okay, Ms. McBride, did you hear all that?
yes.
Okay, what's your response? And maybe I should give you some wiggle room so you can have a weekend getaway somewhere or something. Do you want the every weekend and be stuck with this for a whole year after the video conferencing?
I mean, I want my children to see their father. I have been with them ever since they were born, every single day, so I'm kind of used to that. I'm okay with like I don't need a weekend getaway or nothing like that. I like to be around my kids 24/7. So if he wants those visits, then he got those visits.
Do you think that the lawsuits are gonna go this coming year, or will they go another second year? It sounded like you've already had more than 2 years of.
I've been doing this lawsuit since 2020, and we just did my deposition in March. The other two depositions for the two doctors from the two hospitals that I'm suing should have happened already. And I'm just waiting for a call from the judge to let me know whether it's going to trial or not. If it goes to trial, I have to bring Skylar with me because they're going to want to see her in person. That already, I'm hoping that it's done this year, but I've been doing this lawsuit since 2020.
Okay, well, I don't control any of that, and I don't have a crystal ball like you don't, so I'm trying to make it work so that if he agreed to what you want, which is every Saturday and every Sunday more often than not, that'll accommodate his schedule too. then y'all are stuck with this, and another 52 weeks times every Saturday, every Sunday is another 104 times. However, if you're gone and you're gone for trial purposes, it may be one thing, but if you're gone or can't do it for other reasons, I still think, again, like I did before, that Mr. Green shouldn't be penalized by it taking longer if it wasn't his fault. So, well, let me do this. If you actually have to go to trial and during any of this time period, I think that's kind of legit, but if you do that, it'd be a month or more, wouldn't it?
No, the lawyers told me 2 to 3 weeks possibly for
Okay.
the trial.
Okay. So would you be able to, Mr. Green, if she had to go back for legitimate reasons like the trial and the kids, and that's not her fault, necessarily, those can be made up and those would be included in the 104?
That's fine with me.
Anything else that she canceled because she couldn't find a supervisor because she decided she didn't need a weekend away, and that she canceled for non-trial, non-legal related, or what is it? Reasons related to the children's lawsuits, then if she canceled them, then you don't have to make them up, but it's for the lawsuit issues, whether it's depositions to go back or the trial, that those have to be made up and would be included.
That's fine with
Is
me.
You got it? Fine with you,
Definitely.
okay. Again, let me write it down so I don't forget when the order comes in. So cancellations by the mother during the in-person supervised visits, no makeups required, and do not count toward the 104. However, any lawsuit related issues for mom's cancellation should be made up and do count to the 104 visits. Okay, now what's the next step? By
There was
that,
no next step
2
to
years?
testify.
Excuse me, Mr. Valdez?
No next step was testified to, Your Honor, in their testimony.
Say that again, it got cut out.
No next step was testified to in
No,
their
no
testimony.
next. Well, then I can't end it in 2 years and force the issue that they have to file lawsuits, so I guess we can flesh it out, with your help, Mr. Valdez?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. McBride, after a year of the supervised visits, at that point, do you think Mr. Green should have unsupervised visits?
I'm just gonna go ahead and say yeah, because I'm really trying to get this over and done with. So I'm just gonna say yes. We could get them for the weekend.
Okay. And at that point, would you be open to doing the standard visitation schedule, which is every first, third, and well, it depends on the distance that y'all live apart from each other. If y'all live within 100 miles, then it would be every first, third, and fifth weekend. If you live over 100 miles apart from each other, it'd be one weekend per month, but it would be for the full weekend, Friday at 6 to Sunday at 6 in either of those scenarios. If y'all live less than 50 miles apart from each other, then it would be every first, third, and fifth weekend, but the weekend would start as early as Thursday night and end on Monday morning for the children to go to school. But that's a very basic outline of the standard visitation schedule. Would you be open to something like that?
I would be open to them doing a weekend from Friday to Sunday, bring them back Sunday, because they'll probably get ride, like a bus ride to school when they start school.
Okay. And then if you were to do another year of that weekend type visits, then would you be okay with going to the standard visitation schedule? That would also
Yes.
include birthday visits, Father's Day visits, alternating holidays, summer visitation. That could be up to 30 days. That's considered the standard visitation, and that's kind of the end goal. Would you be okay with, after 3 years of the electronic, supervised, and then weekend visits, would you feel comfortable at that point to go towards the full standard visitation schedule?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're gonna be 3 years older and hopefully dad will be well acquainted with the medical issues.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would
Mhm.
agree. Is that a yes instead of a uh-huh, Ms. McBride?
Yes, I said
Thank you.
yes the first time. Mhm.
Mr. Green, you heard it. Is there any reason that shouldn't be the third tier and then the ultimate, the standard visits? And like I said, if y'all agree to this earlier or figure something else out because of distances and whatever, y'all feel free to do that because you're allowed to do that. Otherwise, you're
That's
stuck.
fine.
Got it? Great, thank you. I go through this because I want people to live with it. If I just, ruled on one side or the other, and sir, you were gracious enough to let her have her way at the beginning, which, I think I might have ordered anyway, just because of the medical needs of the child and the nervousness of, you don't know that yet, or you don't know enough about it yet. I don't want things to happen on your watch either. So going through this helped you see all the trials and tribulations of being parents and co-parenting. And I'm giving you tools to try to use to fix it because we're not going to be on your doorstep. We're not. That's just, the courts can fix this on a one-time basis. Y'all work it out on the visits. And if you don't, y'all be suing each other and figuring out what a judge thinks at that point. And it costs money and it's very costly. And so if y'all can figure it out on your own, you definitely should. And I'm trying to get you there. So let's do these baby steps and then the app close communication clearly I think would help. And it gets to the point y'all can talk, great, but use app close otherwise. I would require, there was no non-disclosure issues, Mr. Valeras. They know each other lives, or there's no issues with that, or is there? Did I miss something?
I'm on a different docket here. Let me just double check. Uh, there is, Your Honor, but I think through testimony, I don't think it can really be sustained, but I can ask Ms. McBride more specifically.
Yeah, I'd rather that we do it consciously and with support here with testimony than me just try to rule without hearing it actually fleshed out.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. McBride, does Mr. Green know where you live currently?
Yes.
Does that cause you any problems like harassment, abuse, or harm from him or anyone else?
No.
Would it be okay if your address was included in this court order so that both of y'all would have your contact information in hand?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. McBride. No further questions, Your Honor.
And Mr. Green, you're not alleging that you have any issues with her knowing where you live and your information?
I'm fine.
Okay, then there'll be no non-disclosure issues or findings in the order. So then the state will put your addresses, your home addresses, your phone numbers, your email addresses as well, and then we'll give you app close. And the reason I think cell numbers need to be in there and emails as well is cell phones are for emergencies. Like if y'all can't talk, don't call each other. Use app close, use the email, whatever works for you. Great. But in emergencies, let's say down the road, you have the kids and you're on the road to get there and you didn't get there, something happened, there's traffic, there's some, fender bender, whatever. She needs to know what happened. So you need to be able to communicate immediately and not be trying to check emails off the side of the road or trying to get on the app. So that's what it's for. And that for emergencies. So Ms. McBride, is there any reason, well, I assume your phone will be published there, and I'm just trying to tell both of you how to use these tools and wait until you fix the co-parenting thing before you try to really talk again. Use app close, that's what it's for. But again, the cell numbers are going to be there for emergency purposes. Okay, does that cover everything? The two contested issues were visitation. I think we fleshed it out, three tiers, and then standard visits. And then the geographic restriction, father conceded the issue. He said no geographic restriction placed on mother. So I'll approve that. And then no non-disclosure issues, and we'll add the app close. And I'll also add ask the state to add the Children's Bill of Rights, or the Loving and Caring Order. Is just a 1 or 2 page document that reminds parents of some really basic things about what to talk about children with, what not to talk about children with, what to say and not say about each other, those kinds of basics that, you know, we think would operate, or professionals believe, parents read it, they might follow it, and it might make for better co-parenting relationships. So I'll ask the state to add it to the order, whichever one's useful for this county or this county allows, Mr. Valderas.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the other thing I'll do for Mr. Green, you're gonna have your hands full, and so I'm gonna waive court costs for you, sir. You've got enough to figure out and hopefully work on transportation issues that whatever costs involved, y'all had to be here anyway to work it out. I'm glad you're here. I find that the people that come to court really want to be involved, and then there's more likelihood that we'll be involved. I have too many people that don't show up in court. And that's sad to me because they're not fighting for anything. They're just letting it happen or ignoring it, and that's not good for the kids. I'll quit now. Mr. Green, you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Ms. McBride, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
The state's gonna draft this order, put it in an email, send it to you by email. It's gonna be a DocuSign program, which is an electronics way of signing the order. And it's gonna come from the Texas Office of the Attorney General in an email. So check for that. That's your priority homework. It's already past noon on Friday. They may or may not get to it, so start by the end of the day. So start looking after 5. If it's there, open it, take the weekend to review it and sign it, send it back. If you think there's a question or a problem or an error, you call the state next week, work it out with them. If they don't hear from you, you don't sign it, by next Friday, they'll be submitting it to me without your signature. I will review it for accuracy. However, I'm human too, so I'll do my best. But as far as the specifics on the visits, I know what I ordered. I'll make sure that's the way I've ordered it. But you all look at it first for me and sign it if you can. If you can't or won't, I'll sign it without you. Since I'm rendering the order today, I'm approving your agreement and ruling on the contested issues. So that'll be the end of it. Now y'all can hang up or log out and leave the meeting and start checking your emails after 5 today. Thank you, folks.
Your Honor, I did have a
Okay.
question for Mr. Green, but
Sure,
I'd prefer to go off the record. I just wanted to confirm his cell phone number.
not a problem.